Let's explain what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is Terence's stoned ape theory. And his theory involved a lot of contributing factors, one of them being climate change. And the theory was that as the rainforests receded into grasslands, you get more ungulate animals, and they leave behind poop, and that these lower primates find these mushrooms that are growing on the poop, and they experiment with them. And that the ones that did increased visual acuity, they became more amorous, they were more likely to breed, more creative, the ability to form sentences, glossolalia, associate sounds with objects and concepts, and that this is probably how language formed among humans. And Terence's connection to that, when you look at the timeline of when this was happening, when we know this was happening, which coincides with the growth of the human brain, which over a period of 2 million years doubled in size, which is pretty phenomenal.
200,000 years, it increased massively. So 2 million years on the outer limits, 200,000 in the inner limits.
So in the inner limits, what was the amount of growth in the 200,000 years?
I think it was 40-50%, something substantial.
200,000 years, 50%.
Yeah.
And what time period was this?
Well, 200,000 years ago.
200,000 years ago.
There was a jump. And
but like Homo sapiens in this form have existed more than 200,000 years, though, right?
No. Homo sapiens are relatively recent. You know, I look at the estimates go back and forth depending on what experts you're consulting and whatnot. But from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens was a radical jump that was fairly recent. So
I was under the impression it was more than 300,000 years ago.
It could be 200,000, could be 400,000, but it's you know, our enlargement of our brain is relatively recent. And to give more context, Dennis McKenna and I were just together.
I love that dude.
Dennis McKenna is a fantastic friend and scientist, and he's such a good man.
Well, he does such a brilliant job of explaining the mechanism behind the stone ape theory.
Yeah.
You know, like Terence had a great way of talking. He was so interesting to listen to and had these wonderful ideas, but Dennis is like much more of a hardcore scientist.
Dennis is a scientist, and his brother
breaks it down.
Was a philosopher.
Yeah.
And the Dennis McKenna Academy is a nonprofit. I'm just promoting it just because I think they do really, really good work. But this is, you know, the 23 primates eat mushrooms. Almost all mushrooms have maggots in them. Most primates eat maggots. So finding the mushrooms for maggots, for food, for protein, you know, two things can be true. Right. You can find the maggots, eat the mushrooms, and then get high as a community.
Right.
But all these, again, this is an example about an example of the art that we see thousands of years ago. We can debate this in the past, but we can test this. This is a testable hypothesis.
Right.
It's a theory now. It's not a hypothesis. We know that psilocybin stimulates neuron proliferation. Terence did not have and Dennis did not have the scientific evidence for that 30 years ago. We now have the evidence for it now. Terence and Dennis McKenna should go down in evolutionary biology as the two individuals who could see in the far event horizon way before the scientific method. How did they come up with that? Because they were tripping on mushrooms.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why scientists using psychedelics is a quantum leap. You know, it's how PCR was invented.
Carrie Mullis.
Carrie Mullis had a trip on LSD.
Yeah,
Crick and DNA.
Yeah.
And Stephen Jobs.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is fueled by psychedelic thinkers who are becoming more creative. And I think we have a crisis in creativity, and psilocybin is a way for us to become smarter, more congenial, more collaborative.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, and I think we can. This combines psychedelics with AI. We have an opportunity for a quantum leap in the evolution of the human species.